welcome back to my channel. Today our topic is about marriage registration in Singapore. The marriage process that we're going to discuss today is about non-Muslim marriage, or what we call civil marriage. So for this civil marriage, one of you must be a non-Muslim to be able to go through the process of civil marriage. If both of you are Muslims, you must refer to a different marriage process, which is the Muslim marriage process. Okay, for this marriage process, we discussed the first step. Step 1 is to prepare the requirements. So the requirements are both of you must be at least 21 years of age, and both of you must be eligible. When we say eligible, that means you are legally allowed to be married. Means there is no existing valid marriage, or any previous marriages before has already been dissolved or annulled. If you are divorced in Singapore, you need to disclose some details of your maintenance orders or court orders. They have to study first and check your promptness of payments, for example, or custody arrangements, and these are all parts of your declarations. Then you cannot be also closely related to each other. So for example, your cousins, you cannot get married. So these are the basic requirements. So step 2, we need to discuss about the additional requirements. The first additional requirements is for Singaporean citizens, okay? Singaporean citizens who are first marrying a foreigner. Okay, for Singaporean citizens marrying a foreigner, the foreigner must have stayed in Singapore for at least 31 continuous days. Either in the past or recently, there should be a completed 31 days continuous stay in Singapore. And second and most importantly, they must attend a PMLA. So both of them will attend PMLA and ICA. PMLA is a pre-marriage long-term pass assessment. Because this spouse will have to stay long-term in Singapore, there should be an assessment, and this should be attended in ICA. You can check it online in ICA, or I can also make another video regarding this next time. The next requirement is, additional requirement is for Singaporean citizens marrying workers holding work permit or training work permit, TWP, WP. If you are marrying Singaporeans, you have to seek the approval from Ministry of Manpower. There are certain restrictions for work permit holders. For example, like the maids, they're not allowed to just marriage because of the conditions of the work passes. So they have to seek approval from Ministry of Manpower. Again, if you are marrying a Singaporean if you're marrying a Singaporean citizens or SPR, a Singapore permanent resident, and you are holding a work permit, you have to seek approval or consent from Ministry of Manpower before you can apply for marriage registration. Okay? This is to ensure that your marriage did not breach any work pass condition. Work permit has many conditions depending on what type of work permit you're holding. So must make sure you don't just anyhow marry. This also applies for those work permit holders marrying Singaporean citizen outside of Singapore. You must read the work permit conditions first, okay? Please also take note that when you're marrying a Singaporean citizen or SPR, you need to provide a documentary proof that you are allowed to get married and you have not contracted any other marriages in other countries or in your country. So this is a document that should be authenticated by your respective countries. For example, if you're coming from the Philippines, you have to show proof of no marriage. We call it Senomar in Philippines. So you have to submit this certificate if you are marrying a Singaporean citizen or a Singaporean permanent resident. That's another requirement. Now, what if you are both foreigners? Okay, if you are both foreigners and you want to get married in Singapore, we have to identify first whether you are a foreigner who's residing in Singapore or working in Singapore, like you're studying or working in Singapore, or you are a foreigner just visiting Singapore. Let's discuss it one by one. If both of you are working in Singapore, you need to have a valid pass shown to the ROM. This valid pass can be issued by MOM if you're working, or ICA. As long as there's a valid pass, then you can proceed to register and book your marriage in Singapore. Now, if both of you are short-term visit pass holders, meaning you're just visitors in Singapore, there are two additional requirements that you need to provide aside from your identification documents, of course, and your valid visa. You must have one, letter of no impediment to marriage. This should be issued by your home country, either the government agency like Ministry of Foreign Affairs or your respective embassy, and this must include the particulars of both your names, those to be married, the bride and the groom, your date of birth, nationality, all your details should be there, and your passport numbers. And then it should be dated not more than 3 months on intended date of solemnization. So the original document must be in English and also authenticated, or if it's not in English, it should be translated. The authentication must be as I mentioned to you, the consulate, your Ministry of Foreign Affairs, or your embassy should be authenticated. So that's the first one, letter of no impediment to marriage. Now, the second requirement, it's a document that's showing your marriage status. Just like the one that I mentioned as a sample, the Sinomar or the Certificate of No Marriage. With other countries, I don't know what is the term, but it's a document, of course, English or translated in English, showing your marriage status. This shows whether you're single, divorced, or eligible for marriage. But this document should also be issued to you by the country of your nationality, or the latest country you have stayed for a minimum of 6 months. There should be a documentation proof that you did not contract any marriage in that country and you're still eligible to register for marriage. Of course, authentication is the same thing. Your respective embassies, your consulate, or the government agency that authenticates these documents. Another requirement is for those below 21 years old. They must have parental consent. So that's all of the requirements that we need to comply with. Aside, of course, that you have to have 2 witnesses to attend your wedding ceremony. There must be 2 witnesses regardless of nationality. They can be a visitor or a resident. As long as they have their identification documents, they can attend your wedding as witnesses. Okay, now let's go through the marriage process. The first step is to attend the marriage preparation program, but it's optional. So let's go through the next step, which is to prepare your marriage application. In preparing your marriage application, you need the solemnization date, you need the venue, and then you have to choose what I mentioned to you, the 2 witnesses to attend. You have to familiarize yourself with the timeline of these tasks, as well as submitting a marriage application. You can see that online in the ROM website. you have to give the ROM the notice of your marriage by submitting the application at least 21 days before your intended solemnization date. So the process will be that you will go through the calendar and then choose a solemnization date. And so once you choose that 21 days before that date, you must submit your application to the ROM. Okay? You have to have at least 21 days. Remember that. That marriage application, once you book the date, it will expire within 6 months. So you have to make a new application once it expires. Then the next step, for those below 18 years old, they must attend the social assessment. For those below 18 years old only. Then after that, you have to book a solemnizer. That's step 3. Yeah? A licensed solemnizer, you must select one to pronounce you as husband and wife. This licensed solemnizer, you're not obligated to pay them, but in my experience, we gave them Hong Pao as a gift. It's optional. It's up to you. These people are volunteers actually, so they don't charge you any fee. So you have to select your solemnizer. That's the third step. Then you have to submit your marriage application online. There is an appointment that you need to submit to make your declaration, and then the marriage application, and then the payment. So once you make the payment, you have 6 months to have a date, and this date must be, this application will be submitted 21 days before the intended date. You get it? So before for example, you want to get married in December 21st. On the 1st of December, on the end of November, you must submit the application already. And then if you cannot make book appointment on the 21st of December, okay, the next step is just to make declaration. So the appointment that you need to attend to is appointment only to make declaration. This can be done physically or via video, because the verification can also be done online, and your declaration can be done online as long as everything is verified. Just attend it. As long as you meet the requirements, it should be fine. Then after the appointment to make declarations, and you have done your declarations, then it's time for the solemnization. Okay, for our last and final step will be the solemnization. On this day, you will attend the solemnization appointment and meet your solemnizer. You bring your 2 witnesses and wear whatever you want as long as it's decent. I have seen some brides wearing gowns and other couples wearing ethnic costumes, and they look so cute and nice. And the solemnizer may also attend on the venue that you have chosen, but oftentimes they attend it in the ROM. So that's it. They will give you a certificate of marriage. It used to be in a hard copy, but now they send it in digital copy through email. It's a valid and binding document. Unless you divorce, you cannot invalidate that certification. Now there is another type of marriage registration in Singapore. This is what we call marriage re-registration. Okay, this applies for those marriages that happened in Singapore prior to 15 September 1961. You can re-register this marriage, or those married overseas. Okay, for example, you married your husband or your wife who's a Singaporean or a resident in Singapore in another country, and you want to re-register your marriage here, you can also do so. This is called marriage re-registration. The same process applies, but you have to submit your original marriage cert of the marriage that happened or that was solemnized in another country. And then you will just attend a solemnizer, book appointment, and that's it. It's easier. You also need to have the basic requirements, and of course witnesses to sign the certificate. Okay, I hope I have given you enough knowledge And all this information can be viewed and checked online via the Registry of Marriage website. And they called it OMJ, Our Marriage Journey. Thank you for watching and see you again next time on my next video. Did you like this video? If you did, please click like and share this video for others who may need the same information that I just shared. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and you'll see more of my videos next time. Bye for now. Thanks again.